National Gallery said we don't have room. So Tate Galleries was founded to house the Lady of Shallot, Ophelia and Sir Henry Tate's other artworks. Now, one of the main reasons I love this painting is I'm a huge fan of the Pre-Raphaelites, and this is definitely inspired by the Pre-Raphaelites, but Waterhouse was born just a little bit too late to be one of the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. He was born in 1849, which is the same year the Brotherhood were causing a big stir on the London art scene. He was born in Rome to English parents. His parents were both artists, and they moved back to London in 1853 to South Kensington, a stone's throw away from the museum we now know as the Victorian Albert Museum, which is the perfect location for a family of artists, really. 1879 he entered the Royal Academy. 1883 he married a woman named Esther Kenworthy. Now Esther was the daughter of an art teacher, a talented artist in her own right, and perhaps most importantly for this talk, almost certainly the model for the Lady of Shallot. 1897 he was elected to the status of academician and he served on the Royal Academy Council. And he died in 1917 after a 2-year battle with cancer and was buried in Kensal Green Cemetery in London. On his death, Esther attempted to turn his studio into a museum of his work, of his life. But by that time, Waterhouse's style of art had completely fallen out of fashion. No one wanted to fund the museum, so it never came to pass. So, turning to the painting, we have the Lady of Shallot from the Alfred Lord Tennyson poem of the same name. She's descended the steps from her tower to board the boat. She still has the mooring chain clutched in her hand. She has a look of profound grief and resignation on her face. She's set against this wonderful British countryside. The Waterhouses spent a lot of time in Somerset and Dorset, which I feel informed the backdrop to this painting. But I said at the start of the talk, I'm not an art historian. I'm not a literature student either. I'm not sure what I've been doing all the time, to be honest with you. So it wasn't until I started researching this painting, I found out how far back the story of the Lady of Shallot goes. And we can trace her back to the 15th century, to Sir Thomas Malory's Le Monde d'Arthur, in which is a character named Elaine of Astolat. Now, Elaine's story is that her father, Lord Bernard of Astolat, is holding a tournament where many knights are coming to compete, including King Arthur and his Knights of the Round Table. It's here that she meets Sir Lancelot, and she asks him to carry her favour in the competition, which might be a handkerchief, a wreath of flowers, something to say that he's competing on her behalf and for her honour. And he agrees, but it's complicated. His best friend's wife, Queen Guinevere, is going to be in attendance, and he's having an affair with Queen Guinevere, so he cannot be seen to carry another lady's favour. It's a tangle. So he competes incognito. He wears a full face helm, he borrows a plain shield from his family, and leaves his shield with his coat of arms with Lord Bernard. He goes on to fight 40 of his fellow knights and is badly wounded, and Elaine takes it upon herself to nurse him back to health. But upon recovery, he offers to pay her for her services, and mortally offended, she gives him back his shield and tells him to leave. She then died of a broken heart, and in accordance with her final wishes, her body was laid in a boat which was set adrift down to Camelot, where it was discovered, and Sir Lancelot, realising what he had done, paid for a lavish funeral in her honour. We can see the lady is still alive in the boat, so we know this is based on the later version of the Lady of Shallot, Alfred Lord Tennyson's poem, which tells a very different tale, but with several of the same characters. So, the short version of Tennyson's Lady of Shallot. The lady is weaving a tapestry in her tower room night and day. If she stops, a curse will befall her. She has a mirror angled so she can see what's happening outside her window, recreating those scenes in her tapestry without ever leaving the moon. But one day she sees the beautiful Sir Lancelot reflected in the mirror, and she feels she has to see him with her own eyes. So she gets up from the moon, crosses to the window, and the mirror cracks, signifying the curse is befallen her. If you've read the poem, it's the famous line, the mirror cracked from side to side. She realises she has nothing left to lose, so she descends from a tower, she inscribes the name the Lady of Shallot in the prow of a boat, and sets sail for Camelot, knowing she will never reach it. Regardless of the version, the Lady of Shallot does not get a happy ending. There's some wonderful imagery in this painting. She's seated on the tapestry she's been weaving, it's trailing behind her in the water, perhaps signifying her life's work is now behind her. In the prow of the boat there is a crucifix to signify her Christian virtue. She's a virtuous woman. Next to it, 3 candles. Now, because candles provide light, the symbolism is of life. Now, in this case, 2 have blown out and the 3rd candle is guttering in the wind, suggesting things are not looking good for the Lady of Shallot. On this side, often overlooked, we have a pair of birds flying, either swallows or house martins. They make for life, so the symbolism here is of loyalty, of devotion. Now, some art historians have suggested that because they weave nests, it's the devotion to her craft as a weaver. I'm a romantic. I much prefer to think of it representing her infatuation, her unrequited love for Sir Lancelot. I don't think anyone can look at this painting without comparing it to Millay's Ophelia, which can be seen in room 10 just parallel with us. 2 pre-Raphaelite beauties with the themes of grief and loss, and the water such a palpable presence in both. But another link is that the model for Ophelia was Elizabeth Siddal, the wife of Dante Gabriel Rossetti of the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, and a talented artist in her own right. Just as Esther Kenwith in Waterhouse was a talented artist, both women completely overshadowed by their more famous husbands. Now, I say Esther was a talented artist. She was displayed at the Royal Academy, so she must have been good. Art critics at the time said her flowers were exquisite, and some art historians have suggested that when John Waterhouse included flowers as part of his composition, it was a collaboration with his wife. But they're only ever credited to him, so we'll never know for sure. And sadly, her work is completely lost today, which I think is another sign that women artists were not given the same respect and appreciation as their male counterparts.